This video we're going to have a quick look at a new development in Template Editor where we've extended some of the features and some of the capabilities. So if we have a quick look at, I've just selected a tenant and I've just gone to a page template, and if I just go and find a user, select myself, that seems appropriate, and then go and find that, represent that user. This is our test server, so ignore the security error. So if we go back to the tenant and go and find the content, so I'm just going to be looking at page templates. So I'm going to create a new page template, so call it test extensions for the sake of it, and we'll just give that as a name, a description, and then just write a piece of content. Let's just get this working really quickly. Okay, so there's our page. It's fairly simple. So what we can do is, if we have a look at help on this page, we've included some wording here about template extensions. If we have a look at this page, so what this does is we've extended the capability of templates, of page templates. At some point we're going to extend it to document templates and email templates, but for now it's just sort of page templates. But that can be in pages, in content pages, or in so that the benefit summary or the benefit main screen. Anyway, you see a page template, and also within benefits as well. So when you look at this sort of, if you were to let's have a look at, if we have a look at the benefits here. So in here we've got an intro, and this is something I'll look at later. We'll explain this component in here. But if you were to go into this page here, of course you've got a page template, or a content template rather. So it's this sort of area here that we're talking about. So the things that we've got, the new things that we've got, are conditionals and repeaters. And the conditionals are pretty much like you use expressions to say if conditions. So if this equals, if something equates to true, then do something, otherwise do something else. And this has been extended because quite often you need to do nested, what we call nested if statements. So if this, then do that, or if this, then do that, or if this, then do that, or else do that. And it gets quite complex putting them all within the curly braces. So we sort of simplified this so it's a little bit more readable. Then we got something here called repeaters, which is, if you're familiar with coding, it's sort of kind of for each repeater. So it says, if you want to say repeat something 10 times, so if you want to say between 1 and 10, and you repeat a block of code or a block of HTML or something like that. Now to enable those, we've extended the capability of this page template with this to turn it into a kind of a raw HTML editor. Now, one issue we've had for ages, and we'd really love to get over, is where if you wanted to add in some quite specific CSS into this, then if you wanted to do something like this, so if you wanted to say the P tag, we want to set the color to red, something like that. So that is perfectly valid. I'm just going to copy that. That is perfectly valid code. You click OK there, but as we know, it just disappears. The reason is that this rich text editor very kindly tidies our code away. So what we advise at the moment is that you have to create a snippet, and then you have to do something like this, so that you have to inject that CSS into into that snippet. So what we've done with this here, with this use HTML editor, is that if you click that onto yes, then it just forces it to stay in HTML mode. So you can add that into there, and then save that, and then that will stay as that HTML view. So now I've gone and lost my page. Let's just get rid of all that lot. And I'm just going to go from here. So now we can see that's worked. So that piece of CSS is injected into there. The danger is that if you switch it back to HTML, that's fine. It allows you to do that, but of course it will get rid of any of the work that you've done. So if you're going to do something complex within this page and you're familiar with your HTML and your coding, then switch it to that, and then you're good to go. So let's just pop that back there just for the sake of it. So if we wanted to do something like conditionals, if conditions, let's just copy that little block there. So if condition, so condition always is always something that evaluates to true or false. So while you're testing it, the very simplest is if 1 equals 1, which of course it is. Then let's just get rid of this and just make it simple at the moment. So if 1 equals 1, so something simple there, and of course that will work there. If 1 equals 2, which of course will equate to false, then that will disappear. So then of course we can extend this a bit further. If 1 equals 1, yes, 1 does equal 1. Actually, if we were to just say else, so if 1 doesn't equal 1, then we could say something a bit daft. But if 1 doesn't equal 1, if 1 doesn't equal 2, for example, then you'd say, oh, hello, that is going to give me an exception because I need to get the syntax right. 1 doesn't equal 2. So it's basically something like if true, then true part, else false part. So true part, false. To understand, but basically we've separated them out into, because we've got the curly braces either side here, you can do anything you like in here. So you can write your HTML into there, and of course you don't have style equals XYZ, so you don't have the problem of having these single quotes into here. And of course you could write sort of expressions into here as well. As long as they're right. So you can start to sort of do whatever you want. You can also extend this to else if. So if you've got a list of things, so you can say, right, if name equals Bob, then say hello Bob. If name equals John, then say hello John. Bad example, but it's basically gives you the ability to sort of do some extending on those conditions. So, and there's some examples here. So then we've got repeaters, and repeaters iterate through a collection. So you need to define what the collection is, and a collection could be, we've got 2 versions. It can be a range, so between a range between 2 numbers, or it can be a list of items. So if we were to just sort of pick range as an example. So for each I in range between 1 and 4. So I is the sort of the identifier. So for each item in a range between 1 and 4, write out the number that you're on. So if you go through to here, so that starts to get a little bit difficult to read. We have to remember we have to put some HTML in here so that we can maybe separate them out. There we go. So number is 1, number is 2, number 3. So the way that that is working is saying the number is doing between 1 and 4. So for each time it loops through between 1 and 4, it says the number is, and then it writes out what that number is. So that is defined by what is how far you've got through it. We've also got a list. So the idea with the list is we'll repeat for each item. So for each in list, so the list might be number 1, 2, 3, X salary. So we could put expressions into there. Let's see if we can just say item is, and it should list through loop through each of those items. So item is 1, 2, 4, nothing, 30,000 X. Why didn't it do X? It didn't do X because I copied and pasted it from there. So these need to be, as with all systems, all parts of our expressions, these need to be proper single quotes for them to actually work. So there you go. So that will loop through a list of items that you might want to do. But the main thing is that once you switch this onto HTML editor, it just basically turns it into a text editor, much like the snippets editor, and it's fixed there. So that's it should save a lot of messing about with having to create styles into CSS sort of snippets and things like that. So any questions, give us a shout and we'll help you out with that.